In 1979, the Warriors transformed New York's streets into a war zone and turned unknown actors into overnight cult icons. They seemed untouchable, forever young, forever rebellious. But nearly 5 decades later, the changes are shocking. From quiet disappearances to heartbreaking losses and completely unexpected lives, you may not even recognize them today. Join us as we uncover who they truly became and honor the legacy they left behind. Michael Beck, as Swan, the calculating leader of the Warriors in The Warriors, was played by Michael Beck. At 29 years old, he carried the weight of the gang in 1979 with a steady, restrained intensity. He became the face of survival in a film built on fear and pursuit. That performance defined his name in a single year. Born February 4, 1949, in Memphis, Tennessee, as John Michael Beck Taylor, he grew up as the third of 9 children in a crowded working-class family. Resources were stretched thin, and competition for attention was constant, shaping a quiet but determined personality. He earned a football scholarship to Millsaps College, studied economics, and was selected from thousands of applicants for London's Central School of Speech and Drama. His classical stage work in Camelot and Of Mice and Men sharpened his craft before Hollywood called. In September 1980, he married Carolyn Louise Brendel, and together they built a family with 2 children, Jessie Beck and Ashley Beck. The marriage began during the turbulence that followed Xanadu, 1980, damaging his momentum. Despite industry setbacks and public criticism, the marriage endured, steady through decades of unpredictable fame. The Razzie nominations for Xanadu and Megaforce marked a painful public rebuke that shifted the direction of his career. Major leading roles diminished, and the industry's enthusiasm cooled quickly. He moved into television, including appearances in Houston Nights, and later built a second chapter through audiobook narration, voicing novels by John Grisham and the unabridged edition of Bill Clinton's My Life. In 2026, Michael Beck is 77 years old and lives in California, largely removed from mainstream film. His estimated net worth stands at around $4 million, built from acting, narration, and long-term contracts. James Remar, as Ajax, the explosive enforcer of the Warriors in The Warriors, was played by James Remar. At 24 years old in 1979, he brought dangerous volatility to the screen. His portrayal was raw, physical, and unforgettable. That single role secured his place in cult cinema history. Born December 31, 1953, in Boston, Massachusetts, as William James Remar, he grew up in Newton in a family marked by complexity. He dropped out of high school at 15 and drifted before returning to finish his education, later training at the neighborhood playhouse. Early roles in 48 Hours, and the Cotton Club established him as a powerful screen presence often cast in intense roles. In 1984, he married Atsuko Itsuki Remar, and they had 2 children. The marriage faced strain during the mid-1980s when he was cast in Aliens, 1986, and then abruptly removed from production after an arrest for drug possession. The incident damaged his professional standing and created serious pressure at home. Atsuko remained with him as he rebuilt his career through consistent television and film work. Remar struggled with substance abuse in the 1980s, a battle that contributed directly to losing the Aliens role. That setback threatened to derail his career permanently. He rebuilt slowly, eventually earning renewed respect with his portrayal of Harry Morgan in Dexter, 2006 to 2013, which brought award nominations and long-term visibility. In 2026, James Remar is 73 years old and continues to work in film and television. His net worth is estimated at approximately $5 million, supported by decades of acting and voiceover contracts. The actor, once known for playing volatility, survived scandal and professional collapse to remain active in Hollywood. Dorsey Wright as Cleon, the founder and original leader of the Warriors in The Warriors, was played by Dorsey Wright. At 22 years old in 1979, He stood at the front of the gang with authority and urgency. In that single year, his face became permanently tied to the beginning of chaos. Born April 21st, 1957, in the Bronx, New York City, Dorsey Wright was raised in a working-class household, witnessing violence and instability at close range. Financial pressure weighed heavily on his family, and early abandonment left emotional scars that shaped his determination. Acting became an exit route, and 1979 changed everything when he landed Cleon, followed the same year by a role in Hair. Wright married and had children while navigating the instability of acting work. The unpredictability of casting and income created tension. He later appeared in Ragtime, 1981, and The Hotel New Hampshire, 1984, yet the industry never offered him sustained leading roles. After the initial impact of The Warriors, major studio roles became rare. He joined Theater for the Forgotten, performing for incarcerated audiences across several states, bringing art into spaces often ignored by mainstream culture. He later worked for 3 decades with New York City Transit while continuing voiceover projects and reprising Cleon in the 2005 The Warriors video game. His path moved from the big screen to community stages and steady labor, redefining success on his own terms. In 2026, Dorsey Wright is 69 years old and remains present at fan conventions and occasional creative projects. His estimated net worth is around $1 million, built from early film roles, voice work, and decades of stable employment. Deborah Van Valkenburgh as Mercy, the sharp-tongued survivor who runs with the Warriors through the night in The Warriors, was played by Deborah Van Valkenburgh. At 27 years old in 1979, she brought vulnerability and defiance to the screen. She was not part of the gang, yet she endured the same danger. That year marked her unforgettable film debut. Born August 29, 1952, in Schenectady, New York, as Deborah Gay Van Valkenburgh, she grew up in a family disrupted by early separation. Her father, a minister, and her mother, a teacher, divorced while she was young, creating emotional strain and financial adjustment. She moved between schools and environments, shaping a resilience that later fueled her craft. She studied at Pratt Institute, earning a BFA in painting and drawing, and began performing on Broadway in Hair before transitioning into film. Her breakthrough in The Warriors led directly into 5 seasons as Jackie Rush on Too Close for Comfort from 1980 to 1985. That long-running role provided visibility and stability at a time when many film actors struggled to cross into television. She later appeared in series such as The Shield, and in 2012 won Best Supporting Actress in a Fantasy Film at the Polygrind Underground Film Festival for Road to Hell. Her career expanded across stage and screen, grounded in versatility rather than blockbuster fame. As the years progressed, she continued to prioritize theater, performing in productions such as The Beauty Queen of Lynne and Company. Stage work remained central to her identity as an actress, allowing creative depth beyond mainstream television. In 2026, Deborah Van Valkenburgh is 74 years old and continues to act in television and theater. Her estimated net worth is around $3 million, accumulated through decades of screen roles and stage productions. David Patrick Kelly, as Luther, the chilling, bottle-clinking antagonist in The Warriors, was played by David Patrick Kelly. At 28 years old in 1979, he delivered one of the most haunting, improvised lines in cult cinema history. His taunting voice turned a street chase into something theatrical and terrifying. That single performance made Luther unforgettable. Born January 23, 1951, in Detroit, Michigan, to Robert Corby Kelly Sr. and Margaret Elizabeth Murphy Kelly, he grew up in a household marked by contradiction. His father struggled with alcohol, and the tension inside the home left a deep emotional imprint. Kelly gravitated toward music early. At 13, his mother gave him a mandolin, a gift that would shape his artistic life. His early theater work and musical writing preceded film roles in 48 Hours and Commando, establishing him as a magnetic character actor. In August 2005, he married theater actress and writer Juliana Francis at St. Mark's Church in the Bowery in Manhattan. Their daughter, Margaret Jane Kelly, was born in 2008. The marriage endured the strain of relentless scheduling as Kelly balanced stage productions, film appearances such as The Crow and John Wick, and ongoing musical projects. Juliana Francis remained active in theater as well, creating a household built on performance and art rather than Hollywood spectacle. Professionally, Kelly moved fluidly between mediums. He collaborated with Spike Lee in Malcolm X, Crooklyn, and Chirac, and appeared in David Lynch's Wild at Heart and Twin Peaks. He won recognition on stage, earning respect in productions such as Once, where he originated the role of Da on Broadway and contributed to the Grammy-winning soundtrack. In 2026, David Patrick Kelly is 75 years old and remains active in film, television, and music. His estimated net worth stands at approximately $4 million, accumulated through decades of acting, Broadway work, and musical releases. The man who once taunted the Warriors in a dark park continues to perform, his voice still sharp, his presence still unsettling. Thomas G. Waits as Fox. Fox, the strategic second-in-command of the Warriors in The Warriors, was played by Thomas G. Waits. At 24 years old in 1979, he portrayed the gang member meant to carry intelligence and caution. His role ended abruptly both on screen and behind the scenes. That year became a turning point that would define his complicated relationship with Hollywood. Born January 8, 1955, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Thomas G. Waits grew up in a working-class family and pursued education aggressively to escape limitation. He attended Bishop Egan High School before earning a full acting scholarship to Juilliard as part of Group 7. He later completed studies at the New School and earned an MFA in playwriting from the University of Iowa. His early film breakthrough came quickly, including And Justice for All, 1979, alongside Al Pacino, positioning him as a serious dramatic talent. During production of The Warriors, Waits clashed with director Walter Hill and was ultimately dismissed from the film. He requested that his name be removed from the credits, a decision he later regretted. 3 weeks after being fired, he auditioned and secured a role opposite Al Pacino, rebuilding momentum through talent and determination. In 1987, he married Lisa Greenberg. The marriage later ended in divorce, and the separation brought personal strain while he raised 2 children. Waits suffered injuries from a serious accident that affected his health, but recovered and redirected his energy toward teaching and directing. He founded TGW Acting Studio in New York City, mentoring actors such as Alfred Molina and Vanessa Shaw. His directing work, including the film Pandora's Box, earned him Best Director at the Atlantic City Film Festival. In 2026, Thomas G. Waits is 71 years old and works as a director and acting coach in New York. His estimated net worth is approximately $1.5 million, built through decades of acting, teaching, and independent directing. Brian Tyler as Snow, the loyal and physically imposing member of the Warriors in The Warriors, was played by Brian Tyler. At 26 years old in 1979, he brought quiet strength and steady presence to the gang's desperate journey. That single role became the peak of his screen career. Born May 8, 1953 in New York, Brian Tyler grew up in a working-class neighborhood, witnessing instability and street violence that hardened him early. Acting became an opportunity to escape surroundings that offered limited options. After The Warriors, he appeared in projects such as Popcorn, 1991, but major film roles did not continue. The transition from actor to ordinary working life was abrupt, forcing him to redefine his identity outside the entertainment industry. He later married and built a stable family life away from Hollywood. The unpredictability of acting income had already shown him how fragile fame could be, so he chose consistency over spotlight. Stability replaced ambition as his guiding priority. Professionally, his acting career remained brief. After small roles and sporadic appearances, he left the industry and pursued work in law enforcement, a dramatic shift from fictional gang streets to real public service. The adjustment required discipline and resilience, especially after experiencing the sudden fade of recognition. In 2026, Brian Tyler is 73 years old and lives outside the entertainment spotlight. His estimated net worth is approximately $800,000, built from his acting work and subsequent professional career. Marcelino Sanchez as Rembrandt. Rembrandt, the young graffiti artist of the Warriors in the Warriors, was played by Marcelino Sanchez. At 22 years old in 1979, he embodied innocence inside a violent world. His character painted the gang's name across the city, leaving a mark wherever he ran. That year gave him visibility he would not live long enough to fully experience. Born December 5, 1957, in Calle, Puerto Rico, Marcelino Sanchez moved to the United States seeking opportunity. The transition brought language barriers and cultural discrimination that made early life difficult. Determined to succeed, he entered acting in the late 1970s and quickly secured his breakthrough in The Warriors. He later appeared in television series such as Chips, Hill Street Blues, and the educational program 3-2-1 Contact, as well as the film 48 Hours, 1982, building momentum in Hollywood. Sanchez never married and lived independently while focusing on his growing career. As the 1980s progressed, he began battling serious illness at a time when public understanding of the AIDS crisis was clouded by stigma and fear. The diagnosis isolated many performers in silence, and Sanchez faced his health struggle. His illness advanced rapidly, cutting short what had been a promising trajectory. Complications related to AIDS weakened him physically and professionally, forcing him away from acting during critical years of his youth. On November 21, 1986, at just 28 years old, Marcelino Sanchez died at his home in Hollywood, California, from an AIDS-related illness. His passing came during a period when the epidemic was devastating the arts community, and conversations about the disease were still filled with prejudice. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was approximately $200,000. Terry Michos as Vermin, the restless and sharp-tongued member of the Warriors in The Warriors, was played by Terry Michos. At 26 years old in 1979, he gave the character nervous energy and streetwise humor. That year secured his place in cult film history. Born December 26, 1953, in Poughkeepsie, New York, Terrence Michos trained at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts and built his foundation on stage. He appeared in Greece both on Broadway and on tour before stepping into film. After The Warriors, he starred in the CBS movie The Great Skycopter Rescue, 1980, and made television appearances in Simon & Simon and McLean's Law. However, his acting career slowed quickly, and major studio opportunities did not follow. Michos married Carmen Michos, and together they raised 4 children. Family life became central as his acting roles diminished. Rather than pursue unstable auditions, he redirected his focus toward communications and broadcasting, choosing responsibility over uncertainty. He transitioned into journalism, serving as news director and anchor for News Center 6 and Cablevision News of the Hudson Valley for 16 years. During that period, he helped lead operations that earned multiple award nominations, including Cable Ace nominations and Associated Press recognition. Later, he worked as communications director for U.S. Congresswoman Nan Hayworth and taught public speaking, establishing influence outside of entertainment. In 2026, Terry Michos is 73 years old and lives privately in New York. His estimated net worth is around $700,000, accumulated through acting, broadcasting, and communications work. Tom McKitterick as Cowboy. Cowboy, the hat-wearing warrior who stayed loyal during the gang's long night in The Warriors, was played by Tom McKitterick. At 23 years old in 1979, he embodied steady allegiance within the chaos. That performance became the most recognized moment of his acting career. Born January 23, 1948 in Cleveland, Ohio, McKitterick entered acting through theater before reaching film. After The Warriors, he appeared in projects such as Angela's Ashes, 1999, and Newborn, yet he stepped away from acting in 1981. The entertainment industry's instability prompted a decisive shift in direction. He turned toward photojournalism, building a reputation in sports and news coverage, including major tennis tournaments such as Grand Slams and Davis Cup events. His second career flourished quietly. Represented by Impact Visuals in New York, he covered sports and international events for 2 decades. Later, he returned to theater production, working on projects such as Tennessee Williams' Period of Adjustment in collaboration with London's Almeida Theatre. While he never chased blockbuster fame again, he remained creatively involved on his own terms. In 2026, Tom McKitterick is 78 years old and continues to focus on photography and theater production. His estimated net worth is approximately $1 million, drawn from his years in photojournalism and earlier acting work. Roger Hill as Cyrus, the commanding leader who unites the gangs in The Warriors, was played by Roger Hill. At 29 years old in 1979, he delivered the electrifying speech that defined the film's opening. That performance made him unforgettable, even though his screen time was brief. Born July 31, 1949, in the Bronx, New York, Roger W. Hill grew up in an environment shaped by poverty and street tension. He graduated from the City College of New York and began acting in the early 1970s, appearing in The Education of Sonny Carson, 1974, before landing his breakthrough as Cyrus. After The Warriors, he worked steadily on stage and television, including One Life to Live, while maintaining a strong presence in off-Broadway productions such as No Place to Be Somebody and Hamlet. His career remained deeply rooted in theater rather than Hollywood fame. Hill married artist Stephanie Bell Hill in 1976, and they had a son, Chris Hill, who later became a film editor. Their marriage endured beyond the turbulence of the entertainment industry. From 1984 to 1987, Hill also had a relationship with actress Ellen Holly, but his family life ultimately remained centered on stability and fatherhood. In later years, he stepped away from acting and worked as a part-time librarian while writing poetry. In 2005, he filed a lawsuit against Take-Two Interactive, claiming his image and voice had been used in The Warriors video game without proper compensation. The case drew attention to the complex rights surrounding likeness and intellectual property. However, his life ended suddenly when he suffered a heart attack on February 20, 2014, in the Bronx. He was 65 years old. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was approximately $500,000. Lynne Thigpen as DJ. The DJ, the unseen radio voice guiding the city's chaos in The Warriors, was portrayed by Lynne Thigpen. At 30 years old in 1979, she lent calm authority and haunting rhythm to the film's soundtrack. Her voice framed every pursuit and every betrayal. Though rarely seen, she controlled the city with tone alone. Born December 22, 1948 in Joliet, Illinois, Sherlyn Teresa Thigpen studied theater at the University of Illinois before moving to New York. She gained early recognition in Godspell, 1971, and continued building a powerful stage career. Over time, she became known for commanding performances in theater and television, earning a Tony Award in 1997 for An American Daughter and receiving multiple Daytime Emmy nominations for Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Her presence was dignified, intelligent, and forceful. In early 2003, after experiencing persistent headaches, she suffered a sudden cerebral hemorrhage at her home in Marina del Rey, California. She was found unconscious and died on March 12, 2003, at 54 years old. Her final film, Anger Management, was released shortly after her death and dedicated to her memory. She was entombed at Elmhurst Cemetery in Joliet, Illinois. At the time of her passing, her estimated net worth was approximately $2 million. From street gangs ruling the night in 1979 to the quiet, complicated realities of 2026, the cast of The Warriors has lived lives far more dramatic than the film itself. Which transformation shocked you the most? And whose story moved you the deepest? If this journey through time surprised you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more unbelievable transformations of your favorite iconic actors.